Another weekend down and done, and we are back here on Monday, here on the channel to have Countdown Day. And today it's all about the good guys when we look at, as voted on by fans all across social media, the top 10 Autobots. That's going to be our focus this time around in the latest GotBot Countdown. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light them up, baby. And hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. It lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, the Everything Factor, all of the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that's down in the description below. Also in the description below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we offer to you through Teespring, or of course hit the join button right here on YouTube to become a channel member. And this is the top 10 Autobots. Our buddy Joe, not that long ago, probably a week or so ago, put up a question to everybody about their top 10 favorite Autobots. And he asked me specifically, and I said, man, I don't know if I could do my top 10. I'm not even sure if I've given it that much thought. But it did spur me to come and ask all of the fandom exactly what is, in your mind, the top Autobot. And from those votes, we have now amassed, as voted on by fans, a top 10. Very interesting how the voting went here in some real close races. Of course, we're going to kick things off with the honorable mentions first. And in the honorable mentions, we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that had the exact same number of votes, and then one more who had one vote above these 10. So, for honorable mentions, all of the ones I'm about to list had the exact same number of votes. That being Sideswipe, Silverbolt, Transformers Prime Cliffjumper, specifically the Transformers Prime iteration of Cliffjumper, Sunstreaker, G1 Prowl, Wheelie, Wheelie. I can't believe Wheelie got on this list. Well, he's not on the list. I can't believe he made it to the honorable mentions. Top 10 worst Autobots. Wheelie'd be number one for that. Maybe that'll be another question one day. Top 10 worst Autobots. Skyfire, Skylynx, Bumblebee, and Starsaber. And then we had one more, and that was Fortress Maximus. None of those made the list. Some interesting additions in there, like I wouldn't have expected Starsaber. I'm surprised Fort Max got the votes he did. Shocked that Wheelie was on this in any capacity at all. So, and some of these I expected were going to make the main list, like Skyfire / Jetfire. Sideswipe I would have expected to be higher, but none of them made the list. So who did? Well, you know what we're going to do, baby? We're going to kick things off with number 10, a first. Number 10 to me strikes me as a character who is extremely practical and a very practical choice. And I'm kind of glad that he made it. I'm talking about Ratchet. Ratchet it comes in at number 10, and it makes sense. I mean, you can have the toughest team, and you can have all the smart guys and all the tough guys. But you know what? If one of them gets hurt, you need a doctor. Not only is he kind of a fan favorite, especially the Transformers Prime iteration. Not only is he a fan favorite, but honestly, he's one of the most vital and practical choices that could have been made. And for that reason, he takes the number 10 slot. Number 9 sort of surprised me as well, but I gotta believe that he took the spot that he did because he has one of the coolest car modes, and he definitely has one of the sleekest paint jobs. I'm talking about Trax. Trax comes in at number 9. I have no idea why. People voted for him. All they said was, he looks cool. I mean, Trax is cool, you know? Like, yeah, he's a little bit arrogant, but you know what? He has a cool-looking robot mode. He has an awesome car mode. And he gets to hang out with Raul. What more could you want? For all those reasons, and probably more, Trax takes the number 9 slot. And here at number 8, I actually have no plastic representation of this character. But he is someone denoted as being wise, being intelligent, being calm, being skillful, being brave. I'm talking about animated Prowl, a character where a lot of similarities have been drawn between him and Beast Wars Dinobot in terms of honor and bravery, and I totally get it. Prowl was a huge departure from his G1 self, so much so that it's difficult to lump together any sort of votes for them because they are wildly different. It's kind of like Transformers Prime RC and then G1 RC. Like it's such a wild departure that they are very much like two independent characters. Transformers Animated Prowl, I think, was not only such a departure, but he is an example of one of those characters that gained a cult following after G1. He's one of those Autobots who gained a cult following but was never really G1. And I think that speaks a lot for how much of an impact and an influence that character had. I love the guy, and so did enough fans that he was able to take the number 8 slot. Coming in at number 7 is one of the first and earliest Autobots. It's one of the ones that we get introduced very early on to in G1, and it's one of the roughest and toughest. I'm talking about good old Ironhide. Now, he's actually holding Smashdown there. I've kind of partnered them up. I don't know, the red and the red, I guess. Plus, I could believe Ironhide would use a great big hammer, lad. I believe that. Yeah, Ironhide. This, of course, is the Earthrise version. I always liked Ironhide. He was rough and tough, but yet he always kind of seemed approachable, like to Spike and them. Like there was a certain softness to him while also kind of coming with the realization that you're not going to get over on his time, you know? Like if it comes to throwing down, he'll be the first one to do it, man. I don't know. There's a mix of calmness here and there's a mix of kind of tough savagery that I think appealed to a lot of people. And I think that Peter Cullen done a tremendous job of bringing such tremendous life to Ironhide that enough fans felt the same way that he was able to take the number 7 slot. Coming in at number 6 is my personal favorite. Somebody with a cool car mode, somebody with a neat robot mode, somebody with a kind of creative spirit, and somebody who had no small part in helping to create the Dinobots. I'm talking about my boy Wheeljack, baby. I do love me Wheeljack, especially, you know, that head sculpt. I always loved it. I loved how, like, the earpieces, I guess, like, lit up when he talked. I don't know. There was just always something about Wheeljack that spoke to me. I don't know if it was like his rough and tough voice. I don't know if it was the cool alt mode. I don't know if it was the unique head sculpt. I don't know if it was the different inventions. I don't know if it was the fact that he was one of the godfathers of the Dinobots, or maybe it was all of those things. I totally understand why this guy would be on the list. I mean, he would definitely be on my own personal list. I'm very thankful in this case that enough fans felt the same way about Wheeljack, that he was able to at least take the number 6 slot. And now a hush falls over the crowd, because we're at the most coveted of spots. That's right, baby, we are at the halfway mark. And at the halfway mark we have he who is just a soldier with Ultra Magnus. I think, though, that the fans would agree that Magnus is much more than a soldier. He is battle-tested. He is intelligent. He is calm. He is generally, I don't want to say self-assured, but like, he knows what he's doing. He's experienced. He is, dare I say, full of leadership qualities, even if he was never chosen to be leader. I think that a lot of people respected what he could do on the battlefield. I think a lot of people respected his stature and his position. And I think a lot of fans understood that his comrades felt that way about him in the fiction, that Ultra Magnus was able to take the number 5 slot. Now, for those of you who have been here for a long time, we are at number 4. This is a list of favorite Autobots. You gotta know who's coming in at number 4. He who usually takes number 4, which is really odd. I'm talking about Grimlock. Oh yeah, baby. We just talked about the creator. Like a few moments ago, we talked about Wheeljack being the creator of the Dinobots, or at least one of the creators of the Dinobots. But the leader of the Dinobots, come on, you knew that Grimlock was going to make this list, didn't you? You probably thought he was going to make number 4 long before the voting ever started. that being said, it always strikes me so quirky and weird that Grimlock always ends up at number 4 on these things. You know, it's happened enough times that it's weird. But you know what? Like, who don't like the Dinobots and who doesn't like Grimlock? Now, to be fair, actually 2 of those votes were actually for the comics version, the non-buffoonish version of Grimlock. Besides that, people just said Grimlock, man, and they didn't specify which one. I love buffoonish Grimlock. He's my favorite, and for that reason, the love I have for this guy and the love that other fans have for him, he was able to take the number 4 slot. Now, number 3 was One Cool Cat, baby, and voiced by the late, great Scatman Carruthers. I'm talking about this guy, Jazz. That's right, Jazz takes the number 3 slot. Again, the argument could be made that it was some other version of Jazz than G1, but people didn't specify. Most of them just said Jazz. Look, Jazz has been in a few things, like RID 2015, where he was pretty cool. G1 is obviously where he's best known. I think that's where most of the votes lay. Although a few people did give a little bit of a nod to the Fall of Cybertron Jazz, and I get that. I don't think anybody gave a nod to the Power of the Primes Jazz, sadly. I kind of like that mold, even though a lot of people don't. But yeah, Jazz, look, he has been in the fiction a few times, but anytime he is there, he's always one cool customer. And you know what? When you're one cool cat, people tend to be drawn to you. Enough of them that they voted in such a way that he was able to lock up the number 3 slot. And here we are at number 2. We're almost to the top, baby. And coming in, I'm going to tell you now, number 2 and number 1, really, really close race. It honestly, number 2 and number 1, either one of them could have taken the top spot. I tell you that right now. Super duper close race between these two. Coming in, however, at number 2 is Rodimus Prime. This, of course, is the new Kingdom Rodimus Prime. I recently reviewed this guy, and you can check that out. It was very in-depth, and a lot of people were wondering how I would feel about this guy, especially after the way I felt about the Studio Series Hot Rod. Something I want to note before I go on here, a lot of people have said his, I don't know what you call it, torso pushes in. And I've said, yeah, not on my copy. And they've said, yeah, it does. And I'm like, no, not on my copy. Look, here it is. Here's how close into his waist it is. I could push on this all day. It's not going in. Mine won't go in anymore. That's it. That's as far as mine goes. If yours does, cool. I don't know if it's an issue. I don't care if it's an issue. Guess what? It does not 1 ounce detract from me enjoying this guy. And like, it doesn't fall or anything. It's secure. It's solid. I'm cool with this. Rodimus Prime was noted as being so very relatable to a lot of people. I don't get it. I don't understand how this guy's relatable to anyone. I was never inspired by him. I never liked him. But you know what's really strange? This guy's a bit stylized. And especially the face sculpt seems pretty, you know, grumpy and a lot older. But I think that for me, just for me, that this is the best kind of look for Rodimus Prime I've ever seen. I actually feel like, yeah, you know what? I'd probably follow that guy. I think that the more mature, kind of battle-worn, battle-experienced look for him really works. I know it's a departure from the G1 accuracy where I still felt like he was very young and just learning, but I think that if we got this Rodimus in fiction, I think I might actually become someone who likes a version of Rodimus Prime. By the way, one of the votes was for the Energon Rodimus Prime. So I kind of lumped that in because it was only 1 vote. Yeah, Rodimus Prime, number 2. One of the well-known leaders of the Autobots and somebody that a lot of fans, despite my confusion of it, feel like that they can relate to. For all those reasons, he takes the number 2 slot. And very early on, there was a couple of people who said, well, I know who number 1 was going to be. And at that point, the votes most certainly did not support any sort of assumption. As a matter of fact, right up to the bitter end of midnight on Friday, the votes were so close that it could have gone either way with just a couple, one way or the other. We go from a relatable Autobot to a father figure Autobot, and the top 1 is indeed, barely, just by a hair, Optimus Prime. How can he not be? You know, like, Optimus, oddly, though he's a big robot, is like everybody's dad. You know what I mean? Like, he's that guy. I spoke earlier about how Peter Cullen brought great life to Ironhide. He has done the same thing time and again for Optimus Prime. Some versions of the fiction a little more successful than others, but he has always been the quintessential voice and that quintessential fatherly voice for the Autobot leader. How can you argue with someone who's everybody's dad? Optimus Prime #1, and he absolutely deserves it. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We have gone from 10 down to 1 for the top 10 Autobots in all of Transformers. And while a lot of people early on thought that it was going to be a very foregone conclusion that Optimus Prime was going to take the top slot, I'm telling you now, a total of 3 votes separated Rodimus Prime and Optimus Prime. Had a couple of more people voted for Rodimus, at the bitter end, he would have easily overtaken Optimus Prime. It was a dead heat between those two. And you know what? I guess it's sort of fitting that the two best-known Autobot leaders, though there were others later on. I mean, we do have Starsaber who had some votes. We do have Fort Max who had some votes. But I think it's pretty well established that the best-known Autobot leaders are Optimus and Rodimus, and those were the two that were in the dead heat for that top slot. There you go. Who else did we have votes come in for? There were votes for, let me have a look here, Top Spin, Drift, Wrong, Primus, which I probably would have put Wrong and Primus together had there been enough. Alita 1, who else do we have here? Alpha Trion, Brawn had a couple. Who else do we have? Omega Supreme, Hoist, and Springer, just to name a few. Let me know if your favorites made the list and where they fell. I appreciate you guys coming by and giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we offer to you through Teespring, or of course, hit the join button right here on YouTube to become a channel member, baby. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button, stick around, have some fun with us. Don't forget that somehow, someway, each and every single solitary day, you right there, you do make a difference. And I look forward, baby, to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres, or the old fashioned way, baby, right here inside the videos.